Hello, hope you all are well. Today I'll briefly talk about an important topic that I get quite a few queries about, and that is about the process of publishing an academic book. Now, my experience, of course, is in humanities, even though a couple of my books have been published in social sciences fields, but the process by and large is similar. And I do have a longer series of lectures about scholarly publishing in general that I will post the links to in the description, so please do watch them. But today, just briefly about how to publish an academic book, primarily in humanities, but also in other fields of social sciences. So the most important thing to keep in mind, of course, is that as you're writing your book and as you're transforming either your dissertation or your thesis into a book, keep in mind that its organization and everything else should be like any other book that you might have read in the humanities. And for that, I suggest, follow that style, at least the organizational style of one or two of your favorite academic books, and see how other people have done it, how they've organized their book, and then make it specific to your own project. But my purpose here is not to literally talk about how to write a book. It's mostly the procedural aspects of how to pitch a book and find a publisher. So most importantly, the first thing that people ask me about is how do you go about finding a good publisher? Now, there can be different reasons for which publishers you look at. For example, here in the United States, in certain English department, humanities departments, there is a gradation of academic publishers. Most of the times, university presses are considered superior to commercial academic presses, and then you can go down the line. So most of the times when we start with a book project, we do have a publisher in mind, but then we do our research. The best way to do your research is go online and look for university presses, then further focus it into the area in which your book falls. See if there is a series that a publisher has in the area of your book, and then find out who is the series editor and all. But the best is do a general search on humanities university presses. If you're going with commercial academic publishers, there are very few. Okay, Routledge is one of them, Springer is another one of them, Palgrave Macmillan is another one of them. These are three large academic publishers not associated with universities. But then university presses, you can do a search. And then when you go to a website, a publisher website, each publisher website will always have a list of their editors, depending on different subjects. Humanities might have just one publisher, but it might have a different editor for philosophy, a different editor for literary studies. So find out if they expect you to reach out to specific editors. So through the website, find out who the editor is, and then you send that editor a query email. Okay, specific editor relevant to your field of study on which your book is. And you just politely introduce yourself. This is who I am, right? And I've just finished a manuscript on this topic. Give them a brief, succinct description of your topic, and tell them that you are interested in knowing if they would be interested in reviewing a book proposal. Don't send them your chapters or anything else. You might add your CV as an attachment, but the query email, a very polite email asking the editor if he or she would like to review your proposal. That's the first message you send. Please don't add any sob stories or anything that your life depends on it, just a professional email. Okay, so that's the first step. You go to the publisher website, you find out, what their author guidelines are, and within that, who is the publisher associated with your field of study, and then you send them a query email. Now, let's say you're lucky and the editor or the publisher likes your idea. So they would write you back and thank you and say, please send us your book proposal. And then, of course, you send them your full book proposal. Now, I have an example book proposal on my website, and I'll post a link in description to that. Please do read it. That's a general book proposal. But sometimes the publishers or publishing houses will have their own specific format, and they will have it listed under author guidelines, and they would want you to format your proposal according to that. So prepare your proposal according to that, and then send them your proposal. If they ask for 1 or 2 chapters, it would be good to send them your best chapter. That's the second stage. Okay, now they have invited your proposal. Now let's assume that all goes well, and a month or 2 later, the publisher reaches back to you or the editor and says, well, we like the proposal and we would like to review your full manuscript. Now that's really good news, because that step is huge. Now that's when you submit your manuscript. Now when you submit your manuscript, you have to look at the author guidelines. Most of the cases, they will include the author guidelines in their email when they invite you to send a manuscript. But if they don't, go to their website, find out how do they want the manuscript prepared, right? What style of citations do they expect? Do they expect endnotes or footnotes, right? Do they want it double-spaced? All of these things should be in the author guidelines. So you prepare your manuscript just exactly as the publisher wants it, and you send it off. Now, the process is that after they receive your full manuscript, they will send it out to at least 2 reviewers. And the review process is double blind. You don't know who the reviewer is, and the reviewers most of the times don't know who the author is. Also, sometimes a publisher might ask you if you could recommend a reviewer. So make sure that you have someone that you've already talked to and who has agreed to be your reviewer, someone who knows your work and has the expertise in it. It can't just be a friend of yours, right? But either way, the book most probably the manuscript will be sent to 2 reviewers. It takes sometimes 4, sometimes 5 months, sometimes longer, depending on the publisher. And then the reviews come back. The reviews are usually really detailed, right? And they deal with the entire book manuscript. And if, let's say, both the reviewers recommend that your book could be published after certain revisions, then the publisher will send you the reviewer reports. And in that, they would ask you, okay, here are your 2 reviewers. This is what they said. Could you now revise the manuscript and send it back to us? In some cases, they will first ask you if you would be willing to revise. And then if you say yes, then they will ask you to create a revision log, right? They will ask you, as you revise the whole manuscript, they will ask you to write 1 or 2 pages to them explaining how you have addressed each and every concern of the reviewers. Now, in some cases, if the reviewers' concerns are not necessarily about the quality of your manuscript, or you see them as a difference of ideological or political opinion, you can point it out to your publisher and say, look, I understand where this reviewer is coming from, but I choose not to revise this part because it is integral to my entire argument. But in most of the cases, you revise the manuscript and you write a log as to how you have revised chronologically, taking each concern of each reviewer and responding and attaching it in your email along with your revised manuscript. Now, that is probably one of the most important stages of your book publication. Now, by this time, you already know that your book will be published after the revisions are approved, right? In very few cases would the editor send back the manuscript, the revised manuscript, to the reviewers. Most of the times, they will do an in-house review of making sure that you have revised according to what the reviewers had requested or suggested. And after that, they will move your manuscript, your revised manuscript, to copy editing. Now, what a copy editor does is a copy editor basically line edits your document. You'll get a highly annotated document in Microsoft Word with suggestions of change this to that, spelling mistake corrections, sentence corrections, some comments. So I suggest when it comes back to you, go comment by comment, correction by correction. Don't just do accept all, right? Accept each correction individually, and if you disagree with it, put a note there and say, no, I don't want this change. And go through the entire document and approve it that way. And send back a clean document to the copy editor. Now, after the copy editor approves that, your book will then go to the production editor. The production editor is the one who will lay it out in the format in which it will be published, the way the pages would look, and you would get the galleys back for a final proofreading. Now, please keep in mind that when the book has been set, right, you can't really ask for substantial changes, okay? That's why copy editing phase is really crucial. So make sure that you make most of your changes during the copy editing, and then do a good proofreading when the final galleys come to you and the final proofs come to you. But there is one more step before that for an academic book, and that is preparing the index. Now, they will ask you to prepare the index after the book has been set, after the galleys and final proofs have been made, because only then you can know the exact page numbers. Now, there are quite a few softwares that you can use to generate an index. The easiest way that I do it on a PDF file is I make a list of important terms and concepts that I know I have used in the book, right? I make an alphabetic list and then just run each word through the search function of the PDF file, right? And see which page numbers does it show at, and then gather together those page numbers. That's the easiest way of generating an index without using software. Now, Microsoft Word also allows you to do that, and you can figure out how to do it. But sometimes the publisher will give you an option. They would say, okay, we will create an index if you would give us a list of terms. I think Palgrave did that for me. So in that case, you can send them a list of the terms that you would like indexed, and they will create an index for you. In some rare cases, your institution might give you funding to actually hire an indexer, right? You can find them online or someone around you who specialize in that, and then they can prepare an index for you. But in all these cases, be diligent in creating an index. Don't be too redundant. Don't include every term, every page. Just be strategic. But that would be the last step that you would need before your manuscript is complete and it comes out. So overall, I'm making it sound too simple. It takes sometimes a year or two. So simply find the publisher that you would like to publish or who publishes materials in your area of expertise and is relevant to your manuscript. Send them a query email asking them if they would like to review your book proposal. Prepare the book proposal according to their author guidelines. Send it off, right? Wait for them to give you a decision. If they invite you to send a manuscript, send them the manuscript prepared according to their author guidelines. And then after that, when the reviews come in, revise according to the reviews, and then follow the rest of the process that I explained. Now, I hope this explains at least the process of pitching and eventually publishing an academic book. I will post some links related to this in the description. And if you have any questions, as always, please post them in the comments. And if you like what you see on this YouTube channel, please do subscribe and please do pass it on to others. And until then, if Any questions, you can post them in the description below or in the comment section. And if nothing else, I will obviously see you next time. Thank you so much.